my reactors, how y'all doing? So today I'm going to be reading chapter 39 through 40. And it states, sorry man, but we don't work for nobody major. Slade walked into EAT with Marky and his three brothers. It took every creative excuse Marky had in the book. Coupled with a call from his aunt, coupled with a call from his aunt in Mississippi to get Slade to meet Randy to discuss Tornado's death. Marky realized that Randy was not stupid, so he ended up coming clean about what happened to Tornado the day he died. Randy decided to meet with Slade after remembering Ferris saying his name. When the men made it inside EAT, Randy had a scar on his face. Which one? He asked Marky, who pointed to Slade. He doesn't look so tough. Slade was unmoved by his comment. Randy, these are my cousins Slade, Major, and Killer, and Audio. He really is sorry about what happened to Tornado. Marky looked at Slade and didn't see any remorse. Aren't you? Slade didn't say a mumbling word. Randy motioned for them to sit down, but the Baker boys didn't budge. Marky, feeling like it was just a matter of time before shit kicked off, tried to defuse the matter. Sit down, y'all. He looked at his cousins. Please. One by one, they reluctantly took a seat on the lounge chairs. Slade sat directly across from Randy, who was busying himself with a jar of peanuts on the table. Slade didn't like Randy's arrogance one bit and was about to bounce, especially since nobody was available to take Knott's call at the apartment. Marky looked at all the armed men in the hopes that Slade would follow his gaze. See they were outnumbered and realized now was a bad time to make a country move. Explain to me how 4 of my men walked into your apartment alive, and at the end of the night, one walks out dead. The Baker boys laughed and Randy smirked. What's so fucking funny, niggas? Killer stopped laughing for the moment and said, dead men don't walk. Sure they do, Randy advised him, cracking peanut shells. You're walking now, and technically you're all dead. Slade jaw flexed. He was trying his best to keep his cool. What do you want with me and my brothers? I thought I answered the question already. I want to know what happened the other night. He popped a few peanuts in his mouth. Let's start there first. You need to say something to convince me to let you live. Your man was murdered with my bare hands, Slade grinned, and my brothers didn't have shit to do with it. He nodded. That's what happened. Randy looked at Marky. It was an accident, man. Honestly, they got into a fight and shit got out of hand. Tell him, Slade. Randy cracked 7 more peanuts and chewed them fully before swallowing. If they were back in Mississippi, Slade would have already brought Randy to his knees by stuffing the jar in his mouth. For the sake of his cousin, for the moment anyway, he would bite his tongue. Was it an accident or not? Randy asked. If you asked me if I meant to defend myself, the answer is yes. Now, did I think he would break so easily? No, he grinned. Randy didn't like Slade, but he loved his fire. If he could tame him, he would certainly make it come up. You killed one of my men, so now you work for me. Randy wiped his hands on the napkin before dotting the corner of his mouth. All of you. Sorry, man, but we don't work for nobody, Major said. We in town on business, and when that's done, we on the first thing home. You not listening to me, Randy, men. Randy's men aimed their weapons at the Baker boys, and Marky wanted to fight. Tornado life for yours. Don't look at it like a punishment. I'm giving you a chance to right a wrong, and if you knew me, you would consider yourself lucky. He's right, Slade, Marky interjected. He was on him so hard it was only mere seconds before he had Randy balls and dick in his mouth. Normally he wouldn't be so nice. You should all go ahead and take his offer. You a punk ass nigga, Killer said. Sometimes I can't believe you're even my cousin. Like my brother said, we not going to be in town long, Slade interjected. We just here to take care of a few things and then we out. So we're not going to be able to work for you. I think you're under the impression you have a choice, Randy laughed. If you are under that notion, let me assure you that you're greatly mistaken. He took off his shades and looked into their eyes. You took one of my best, and this is how you make it right. Slade laughed. What's so fucking funny now? That man crushed within 10 minutes of me putting my hands on him, and you call that your best? Randy couldn't tolerate Slade anymore, so he decided to have the man close to his head pull the trigger. Get rid of this nigga. The baker boy jumped up ready for war until Randy's phone rang. He raised his hand and said, wait. When he picked up his iPhone, Farrah's picture came across the screen. Luckily for you, it's my fiance, Farrah. He flashed it to him, knowing he was familiar with her name. What's up, baby? I'm busy now. He looked at Slade and could see he finally got to him. He was feeling Farrah, and it showed all over his face. Slade's jaw flexed and his fist clenched as he watched him talk to Farrah on the phone, as if, as if, as if it were even possible. He hated him even more and was 5 seconds from breaking his jaw. Killer, seeing his glare, nudged him and woke Slade out of his thoughts. Farrah was not his, and he had to realize it or they would all die. When Randy got off the phone, he was in a better mood. I'm going to give you country boys 2 days to reconsider my offer. After that, your fare back home will be on me because you'll be back in coffins. So that's the end of chapter 39. I'm gonna go to 40. Chapter 40. If I did do something, I'm sorry. If I did do something, I'm sorry. Farrah sat nervously in the passenger seat as Randy drove speedily down the road. Her puppies, Diamond and Pearl, who she'd grown to love dearly, were barking in the back seat at the top of their lungs. She shushed them ever so often, but it was obvious that they could feel Randy meant her harm. Have you ever had a man who would ruin a whole city for you? A man who would kill you so nobody else could have you? Farrah grabbed Pearl, who found his way in the front seat. She placed him on her lap and began rubbing his head to calm him down. She was growing tired of Randy's threats, and she just wanted him to do something or shut the fuck up. No, but did I do something to you? She could feel sweat dripping from under her arms and pouring down the sides of her body under her coat. If I did do something, I'm sorry. You know I'm tired of hearing that shit. He looked over at her. So don't tell me that anymore. Randy drove in silence for 5 more minutes before pulling up at an abandoned warehouse. She knew where she was because she'd been there with him before, but she never went inside. He parked his car and said, come on, I want you to go with me this time. Amen, y'all. Farrah grabbed her puppies and followed him into the building and up the dirty stairs. The place didn't have as many bugs as Grand Mike building, but it was still nasty. They stopped climbing the steps when they reached a blue door. You know why I brought you here? She shook her head. I want you to see who I really am. Not knowing what he meant, Farrah stood behind him as he knocked on the door using a certain rhythm. A few seconds later, Juice came out and smiled at her before he even noticed Randy. He hadn't seen her since she got into the fight at the store. You know that's got to be the 5th time you eyed my bitch, Randy said. Make that your last. It's not even like that, he lied. Good, now how's business? Everything is smooth, busier than ever. Farrah saw a box of full independent cards, which were used for food stamps, on the table by the door. Randy saw what she was looking and said, we take them if customers can't pay up. Sometimes for a few months, then we let them come back to get them. But it depends on how much they owe. That's why they're right here by the door. He stepped inside with Farrah on his heels while Juice locked the door. In the middle of the large open space were 8 tables with bags of cocaine on top of them in various packages. Workers stood around the station naked with masks over their mouth and nose. In between doing their jobs, a few would sneak looks at Randy, and it was obvious they were frightened. The gray floor beneath the table was covered in powder, and Farrah saw it get sprinkled with sweat, which came from an older woman's body. She was so nervous she was perspiring heavily, and it was obvious that everyone feared him. Nobody should be looking at me. Get back to fucking work. When Farrah saw Randy slip a small package of coke into his pocket from one table, she wondered why he was stealing from himself. Come in the back room with me, Farrah. She followed him into a room that resembled a coke locker. Her puppies licked her knuckles as she held onto them tightly. There were 50 hooks on the wall, and they all held the workers' clothing. Randy walked up to one of the hooks took the small coat out the bag and stuffed it into a woman's royal blue coat. When he was done, Randy walked back into the distribution area, wearing a skull on his face, and as Fur followed. I need everyone to stop what the fuck they are doing, he said. Everyone cease all actions as they froze in place. It's been brought to my attention that somebody in this room has been stealing from me. A few women whimpered and Fur even saw one of the male workers shed a tear. It was obvious that he'd done this type of devious behavior before. Now she saw how badly lying could hurt people, although she doubted she could stop. Before I murder anybody in this room, I'm going to give you a chance to come clean. He looked at everyone now. Who was it? Silence. Juice hung in the corner with a disgusted look on his face. Randy wasn't suited for powder. Randy wasn't suited for power, and although Randy didn't know it, he had plans to take him down. Okay, since nobody wants to fess up, we're going to do this a different way. He looked at his partner. Juice, go back there and check every coat in the room. If you find something, bring the dope in the coat to me. Man, what this shit about? I've been here all day and I didn't even see anybody leaving the table, let alone going back there. So you're going to go straight, you're going to go against your partner in front of all these people? Now I said somebody was stealing. Go check. Juice glanced at him, then at Fur, and walked slowly into the room. He didn't care if he caught him looking at her this time or not. He was back there for 15 minutes before returning empty-handed. I didn't find anything, Randy. Everyone is exhaled, but Fur heart thumped wildly in her chest. She knew for a fact that one of the coats held the drugs because she seen Randy stash it. I looked a few times. Fuck you mean you looked a few times? Either it was there or not. If you checked it right, there's no reason to double up. Fuck it, I'll do it myself. He went into the room and returned less than a minute holding the royal blue coat. He held it in the air and it dangled under his grasp. Who does this belong to? Everyone looked at an older woman with gray hair, the same one who was sweating heavily when he first entered the room. I had a dream I would die today. So you're admitting your guilt? No, I didn't do it, she sobbed, shaking her head from left to right. I promise your guilt. I promise. Hold on. I promise somebody framed me. He dropped the coat and walked up to her. You know the consequences of stealing from me, yet you do it anyway. Please don't kill me, she cried harder. Backing into the quarrel, I have 6 grandkids and their father and mother were murdered a year ago. I'm all they got, and I have been loyal to you for many years. Randy, she's our best worker, man, Juice interrupted. She wouldn't do no shit like this. It ain't her M.O. Is that why you lied to me when I asked you to go check? Because you think she's not capable? If you want to pull this stupid ass shit, you do it on your own. I'm out. Fuck that nigga, he said after he slammed the door. Turning back to the woman, he removed his gun from his waist and shot her in the throat. When she dropped, he hit her again in the forehead. Her puppy barked it wildly before she softly rocked him silent. Clean this mess up and get back to work, he said to one of his men, looking back at her. Let's go. She followed him up the stairs into the doorway. Randy pushed it open and the brightness from the roof hit her in the face. She couldn't be in the sun long, so for a moment she hesitated. Come out the door, we're not going to be here too long. She looked up at the sky. Randy, I don't want to. Don't make me tell you again. I'm getting really tired of repeating myself. First slowly walked out into the roof and stood in the middle, away from the edge. I own everything you see, Fur, everything. He walked to the edge. Come closer. I want you to share this with me. She walked over to him and he said, I sacrificed a woman in that house for you. There's no greater love than someone who murders in your honor. But if you do me wrong again, I won't be so nice. Then he took her puppies from her hand and flung them off the roof. Fur screamed out as she watched her animals splatter on the ground. Why did you do that? She screamed. You gave them to me. I want you to know how far I go to get you. Stay away from Slade. I saw how he looked at me when I mentioned your name. Let this be your final warning. Woo! Chapter 41 coming up next. And I'm going to read chapter 41 and 42 and 43 when I come back. That's it. Okay, that might be out.